Let's do a little NBA trade deadline discussion. So, guys, we are less than 4 hours away. It is officially 3 hours and 55 minutes until the NBA trade deadline is up. So, every trade that has to happen will happen in the next 4 hours. By the way, we are live on stream during it. So, if you guys want to come in and talk about any of these trades, please let me know. But I do want to talk about a couple of trades. The last trade we left off on yesterday was we got the final details of this Kobe White trade going to Charlotte. In exchange for Colin Sexton, Ousmane Dieng, and 3 second-round picks for the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls now in the past 48 hours have acquired 9 second-round picks, which leads them to 14 total second-round picks that they have up until 2032. For a team like Chicago, honestly, I love it.
How many second-round picks?
14 second-round picks. I love it. I love it. If you're a team like Chicago, right, you do not have the assets to go get first-round picks. Now, I will say, mismanagement of assets by a mile, right? Kobe White, a year and a half ago, probably would have gone for upwards of a first-round pick unprotected and probably a protected first-round pick. I could have seen him going for 2. The same offseason that Desmond Bane was traded for 4, or when Rudy Gobert was traded for 5. I really think you could have gotten more than 3 second-round picks, basically 2 because you also traded 1 for Kobe White. But because Chicago has done a prolific job of bringing all these guards in over the past 48 hours, bringing in Jaden Ivey, bringing in Anthony Simons, bringing in all these other guards, it did not surprise me to see them move on from Kobe White. Unfortunately, his time must have just been up. I'm a big Kobe White fan, and honestly, I am a huge fan of this trade for the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte, you would have expected them if they were trading Sexton and a couple of seconds to specifically get a big man because Ryan Kelkbrenner and Moussa Diabate have been their main centers, which are not, prolific starting centers in the league right now. But they're just trying to make a late playoff push. And their second unit ball handlers were not very good. The Trey Mans of the world were not really cutting it off the bench. They kept having to run rotations where Connor and LaMelo were very stagnant. They weren't able to play a lot because they had to have one on the court to be that primary ball handler. All those problems are gone away now when you bring in a guy like Kobe White. He's a very much a combo guard. When I look at a guy like Kobe White, he could play the 2, he could play the 1. He's not that great of a playmaker, but I do think he's the kind of guy that you are excited about because he's locked up on contract. If I'm not mistaken, he is locked up on contract. He's averaging 19 and 5 this season, shooting 44% from the field. Kobe White's been a pretty consistent player over the past 3 years. If you see, he averaged 19 a couple years ago, 20, then 18 this year. He's been right around the similar shooting splits, 37, 38% from 3. It's been down this year, but everything in Chicago has been down this year. Honestly, I love the trade for Charlotte, getting a backup ball handler for basically assets that they didn't really care about. If you guys remember, they actually acquired a second-round pick with Colin Sexton while trading away Jusuf Nurkic. Jusuf Nurkic would not have come close to getting them Kobe White even a year ago. So to see them flip their assets into just upgrading players, I love the trade for Charlotte. As for the Chicago Bulls, I don't dislike the trade. I don't like the trade for them. I understand a lot of Bulls fans are upset because a lot of Bulls fans love them some Kobe White. But they're bringing in Colin Sexton. They're once again doing the same exact rotation where they feel like they're downgrading one step down in a guard position to bring in those second-round picks and hoping that they could package a bunch of these seconds one day, probably for a better player. But Chicago, until Patrick Williams is off your team, I have no further comments on them.
Come on. Hunter hates Patrick Williams, bro.
Chris Paul to the Raptors. This was a funny trade because Chris Paul is not playing basketball.
And then allowing him not to play.
And they are also, yes, allowing him not to play basketball.
I need to get into the NBA, man. You can just get paid to not work.
Yeah, so because he was dismissed earlier this season by the Clippers, they basically were just getting away salary. As you can see, the draft rights to Vanja Marinkovic. Actually, I don't even know that guy, and that says something. But Clippers got the draft rights. Nets get Ochai Agbaji in a second-round pick. This was really a nothing trade at all. If anything, it just cleared up an extra roster spot, basically, in Toronto. Lonzo Ball was traded for Jock Landale. The Cleveland Cavaliers got 2 second-round picks back. My main takeaway from this, Cavs fans and NBA fans around the world, when you have a backup player that you feel good about, don't just think that you can replace him with a guy that plays similarly, right? Cavaliers this offseason let Ty Jerome walk for a 3-year, $27 million deal. Dude was making less than $10 million. Then they went out and said, you know what, we can easily replace that Ty Jerome, asset and position with. How you doing, bro? Good to see you. Oh, what up, what up?
ASPCA in here? Hell yeah, bro. Shout out the animal saviors out here. You know what I mean? Amen. I donate to the World Wildlife Foundation.
Oh, we're
myself.
streaming right now. Streaming live. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to get up? Yeah. You want to get out here? You want to get up here and tell people to help the animals out? You're more than welcome to. Yeah. Hey, come on.
But yeah, so Lonzo officially basically has been released by the Utah Jazz. So the
Has he
Jazz
already?
basically they already came out and said that it's going to happen. My guess is that Lonzo is going to end up in Charlotte playing with his brother.
So he got waived then. So it's gonna go. Is it worst team to best gets the chance at him?
Yeah, but I doubt that there's going to be a lot of teams that are outwardly excited about.
He was such a great
Lonzo
player
ball
in college at UCLA. I was like, and granted, I still think he would have been
triple-double in the summer league.
I mean, dude, I still think if he didn't have that terrible injury a couple years ago, he would shaken. No, it's not, buddy. No, it's not. The American Red Cross. We could talk about that. I mean, again, we'll talk about that on maybe next week's program. Things might be changing around here.
But yes, Jock Landale goes to the Atlanta Hawks, backup center that they kind of needed because they traded away. Dang it, I'm forgetting his name. But yeah, the Atlanta Hawks kind of could use that backup center depth. Oh yeah, Christian Koloko. They still have him on the team, but
Porzingis is adios.
Porzingis is adios. So yes, they trade Porzingis away. We'll get into that trade in a minute, but they bring in their backup center. They're running with Onyeka Okongwu as the starting center. Kind of, it's funny, you look at this team, you say they're a big team, but yet they're kind of small up front in their front court. So interested to see. Atlanta's made a lot of moves, so I'm very interested to see if their record changes much in the next couple of days. But the biggest thing about this, Cleveland Cavaliers clearing up another roster spot after the James Harden trade, with Cleveland being one of the top teams in the running right now for Giannis, with them apparently being willing to give up Evan Mobley in the trade.
No question.
Cleveland bringing in a couple assets, clearing some money in hopes that they could land Giannis.
So you think even if Cleveland doesn't say Giannis doesn't get traded today, you think Cleveland's going to be in that running come July?
Definitely, I think they will be. Yep. The Orlando Magic traded Tyus Jones to the Charlotte Hornets for basically 2 second-round picks that went attached to Tyus. Orlando getting cash considerations. I saw Orlando fans rejoicing that Tyus Jones was off their team because of how bad he's been this year. I like Tyus Jones, so I don't have much to say about this trade, but Charlotte continuing to build their backup guards. Honestly, can't blame them at all, bringing in 2 second-round picks after they traded basically 2 second-round picks for Kobe White. They just get those picks right back for and bring in Tyus Jones. Couple of really good moves, in my opinion, from the Charlotte front office going into the trade deadline. Now it's my time. The Warriors trade Jonathan Kuminga.
How you feel?
It finally happened. It's funny because when I look at this trade, right, I look at every single player in this trade was a negative asset to their team. At the point that we're at right now, Kristaps Porzingis was not playing enough games on a mid-tier team, on a barely a play-in tournament team, to where he's only played 17 games this season. So Porzingis is not helping out Atlanta at all. I don't hate it at all, bringing in Porzingis if I'm the Warriors. He kind of is the center that we wanted Al Horford to be when we brought him in, but obviously Al Horford's 49 years old, so it's like, now we're getting a taller and technically better defender in Porzingis. You got to remember, right, when the Warriors, with this Warriors team healthy, this trade would have looked amazing for the Warriors on paper because technically Kuminga's been getting coach's decision DMPs for about 2.5 months up until the Jimmy Butler trade, and Buddy Hield had fallen out of our rotation. So trading those 2 guys that basically were out of our starting rotation for a guy like Porzingis who can come in and just fit where we need him to. We just need a shooting big. We need a guy that's 7 feet.
He can shoot.
Warriors have not had a 7-footer that is not named Trace Jackson Davis, which, mind you, we traded him away within a second of doing this. Was Kuminga really that bad? He's productive pretty much every time he plays. Good question, Dean. Kuminga wasn't not productive, but he also wasn't a positive asset by any means. When I was watching Kuminga play for the Warriors, it wasn't that his fit was wrong. It really wasn't anything specifically wrong with Kuminga's game itself. Kuminga's a fantastic drive to the rim finisher. He's a fantastic guy, specifically at like isolation moves in the low post. I'm very impressed with what I've seen from him. And I also think that Kuminga has the potential to be a 22 point per game scorer in this league at some point over his career. Whether it's going to be in Atlanta or it's going to be somewhere else, I think Kuminga will have time. I wouldn't even call him just a diva. The relationship with him and Steve Kerr was absolutely killed 1 year ago when we traded for Jimmy Butler. We tried then running this lineup of Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, and Draymond Green as our 3, 4, and 5. Well, no one of them are over 6'7". So what do you expect when you're playing in the Western Conference with Nikola Jokic, Alperen Sengun, Victor Wembanyama, Chet Holmgren, Rudy Gobert, all these big men, right, that are in the Western Conference that we would be seeing in the playoffs? You can't do that. Draymond Green is a fantastic defender, but he's not a center. Right now, at this time in today's day and age, he's not a center.
Oh, even in his best years, he wasn't a center.
He can guard centers very well. I've always given him credit. Like I've never watched anyone
someone his size.
I've never watched anyone, if I'm being honest. When the Warriors
how tall
played,
is he? 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah, barely.
6'7".
He might be 6'6", if I'm
I'm
being
about to say
honest.
that might be generous.
I'll never forget, like, the year after the Nuggets won the championship, the Warriors saw the Nuggets in the first round of the playoffs the year after. That was the year the Warriors did win it. And I've never seen Draymond Green anyone play better defense than what I saw Draymond Green play on Nikola Jokic. I will forever say that Draymond Green's a fantastic defender. But in today's day and age, he's not the rebounder. He's not as fast as he once was. He's not as laterally quick.
No,
we
he's
need
old.
a guy like Porzingis to just protect the rim.
He's old.
And the more I look at this trade, I was thinking about this last night. I would not be surprised if 5 years from now you are telling me that this is the first of like 4 teams Kuminga's on in those next 5 years. He just feels like one of those guys that's going to be included in trades and not ever be a winning caliber player. I really hope he buys into somewhat of like a Houston Rockets Tari Eason role or a San Antonio Spurs Keldon Johnson role, right? I hope he settles into one of a role and he finds his niche. But it feels like what happened was he was too young to fit the role in Golden State, and he believed he was too talented to be restricted in a role. The Warriors' offense is all about maximizing your play and your role. Those two things clash, the mentality, Steve Kerr not finding the success on the court. Then Kuminga would come in, be a spark plug, but then, he can't play next to Draymond Green and Jimmy Butler. Jimmy goes down, Kuminga tries to come in, Kuminga gets hurt. He can't get along with Draymond again, and it's like, here we go. We're right back to square one with Kuminga.
He was drafted where, Kuminga?
7th overall.
Man, that was
7th overall pick. One
right
pick before Franz Wagner.
Oh man. Wow,
Yeah.
imagine how different the Warriors would have been the last 4 years or however long it's been if they got Wagner.
Yeah, trust me, I
He's
know.
a very good player.
Very good.
So they got him. It was that 1 year they sucked in like 2020.
Well, they had
right?
2 years. They were back to back bad. This was the year they had the 7th and the 14th pick in the draft. They took Kuminga and Moses Moody back to back. The year before was when he had the 2nd pick during the COVID year, and we took James Wiseman. So
Oh man.
one
who
pick
could
over LaMelo Ball. So, and a couple picks over Denny Avdia, but that's how it be.
But I know LaMelo, like you'd rather have him, but I mean.
Much rather have LaMelo Ball. I promise you that.
No, of course, but I'm like, it would have been interesting to see how he would have fit in there,
Of course, yeah.
Then again, though, you know what? I don't think a lot of his antics would have played in Golden State the way they have in Charlotte. So
Yeah.
who knows?
I like this
But
trade for Atlanta.
If Dia would have been really good on the Warriors too.
I really do like this trade for Atlanta. I don't think Porzingis.
Yeah, he would have got his ass kicked. They wouldn't. But that would have been good for him though, because he might have needed that though.
Yeah, as
LaMelo
opposed
Ball.
to Jordan Poole basically being out of the league now because of it. He's now LaMelo would have been
Did you see that kid who was like 6 years old who asked Jordan Poole?
Yes, I did.
I love that kid.
That was funny. But yeah, I do like this trade for Atlanta. Bringing in athletic forwards is never a bad thing when you are getting rid of a guy that basically was not going to play for you for the rest of the year. I'm not saying Porzingis wouldn't have played, but he wouldn't have changed the trajectory of the future of the Atlanta Hawks, specifically with the moves that they made. So if I go to their depth now, they're still probably going to be starting Sachet, but I would not be surprised if Jonathan Kuminga slid right in as that backup small forward, power forward in Atlanta. And I honestly like the fit. This is a place he can go. He can kind of unleash himself offensively because he's going to have the ball a lot in that second unit. I love him working next to a guy like Jalen Johnson, who's basically like a taller, better offensive Draymond Green. Like, he's just an all-you-can-do forward, and I think that Jalen Johnson's playmaking is going to be fantastic with a guy like Kuminga. I think the defensive impact that he'll have alongside Dyson Daniels, Alexander Walker, Onyeka Okongwu, I think Kuminga is going to learn how to be a very, very good defender. But I don't love the trade overall either way. It was basically negative assets for negative assets. and hoping. It just makes me sad as a Warriors fan because if this is the move we're going to make to go all in on the Steph Curry timeline, it's like nothing's changed. To me, nothing's changed. I don't see maybe the Warriors win a playoff series because Porzingis comes in and plays good at center. Does it change anything for the near future? No. It literally took us out of the Giannis Antetokounmpo sweepstakes. It is what it is now. It makes me a little bit sad. I will say the Warriors did trade technically 3 players in a bit. Trace Jackson Davis, Kuminga, and Buddy Hield were all traded. So it tells me that we might be clearing a roster spot to try and make one more deal today to bring someone else in. But for the meantime, am I happy that Porzingis is a Warrior? Yes. In all things, technically, I do think he'd be a very, very fantastic fit alongside the guys we have. But at the same time, it doesn't move the needle for the Warriors in the near future at all. M. Schlegel, I do want to say these last 4 teams for the full case of Hit Parade Football are at my closing price. All 4 of them are at the closing price. $45 a pop closes the break, so I won't be able to do that deal. But if you take down the Steelers at full price, I'll give you another $15 off if you're willing to do that. If you take them down at $45, I'll give you the $15 credit off in a different break to help us get closer to breaking that Hit Parade Football. A weird trade that happened, I actually didn't even see this. Yabusele got traded for Dalen Terry straight up. Honestly, I like the trade for the Knicks. I don't really care much about it for the Bulls. Clearly, they were just trying to get a little bit more size. Loved Yabu last year. Yeah, as a Sixers fan, I know you did. I thought the Knicks were getting a good player in Yabusele. Clearly, the fit just didn't work out. I've always been a Dalen Terry fan. Call me weird. I know that's a weird thing to say, but ever since he got drafted in 2022, I always thought he was a solid player. He's just one of those wings that I'd love to see a team take a chance on, and honestly, I love to see him backing up Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. I think that he'll fit right in and learn learn the defensive side of the New York Knicks. As for the Chicago Bulls, I really don't understand why Yabusele was looked at as like a piece that you would want to trade for. I'm just surprised they didn't get back any draft capital in this trade.
Yabusele, remember him in the Olympics a couple years ago?
Talking trash.
Yabusele in the Olympics for France was very good.
Ayo Dosunmu was traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is the first trade that happened this morning for Rob Dillingham, former
How many times has he been
pick.
Traded? Rob Dillingham.
3 times in first year and a half of being in the NBA.
I feel like every time I hear a trade, he's in it.
Yeah, Leonard Miller and 4 second-round picks are going to the Chicago Bulls. So if you remember, I did say they have 14 second-round picks moving forward. These 4 are included in that. Well, Rob was traded technically on draft night. The Spurs drafted him and traded him to Minnesota.
Immediately, right?
And, I guess, you know what? Then I guess he was just traded straight from there to Chicago. I really thought that there was another trade he was included in, but obviously I was wrong. He was going straight
ain't
from
nothing
Minnesota.
wrong with liking that strange, baby. Ain't nothing wrong with liking that strange.
Yeah, you're right, Dean. I was thinking Rob was I swear Rob was, named in 94
That's
trade
what I'm
rumors.
saying. I
You're
feel
right.
like
He's
it's
been in
always.
every rumor. But, yes, this is the first time he's been traded. Ayo Dosunmu going to Minnesota. I think this is a weird trade because I heard rumors that the Minnesota Timberwolves said no to acquiring Kobe White in hopes that they were going to continue their Giannis trade, aspirations. And then they basically do the same trade for for Ayo Dosunmu. Now, I will say, Kobe White or Ayo Dosunmu and the backcourt, if you're bringing Giannis in, I do like Ayo Dosunmu. I think he's a fantastic defender. He's an Indiana guy or an Illinois guy that they loved.
He looks like a girl.
He's been awesome. He's been awesome in Chicago, specifically over the past couple of years. He's been a 40% three-point shooter. He's a solid defender, always gets steals. Solid free throw shooter. This year he's shooting 86% from 3. He's actually, look at that, 51%, 45 from 3, 86 from free throw. He clearly got his value up this year in Chicago. Technically looked good about it. Chicago made right with him, trading him at the peak of his powers right now to Minnesota. I like the trade for Minnesota, even if they don't get Giannis. They bring in another point of attack defender. I would have liked to see them get Kobe White, but I would assume it was just fine. And lastly, Luke Kennard gets traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Gabe Vincent, a second-round pick. I would give this trade an A++++ for the Los Angeles Lakers. Absolutely, you're trading away probably the most negative asset in all of basketball in Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second-round pick that they probably don't even care about because it's the Lakers. For Luke Kennard, who's a good shooter. I've always been a Luke Kennard guy. I think he's been one of the best shooters in basketball throughout his entire time. Look at this. He's been above a 44% three-point shooter for almost 7-8 years now. It's so impressive to see them just be able to get him. He's literally making 50% of his threes right now this year. Luke Kennard traded to the Los Angeles Lakers. When you have a guy like Luka Doncic, just bring in more shooting. When you trade a guy who's shooting 34% from the field and 36% from three, and you're trading a guy, for Gabe Vincent, or for Luke Kennard, it's a fantastic trade for the Lakers. But that's all the trades so far. I will keep you guys updated on if any more NBA trades happen before the deadline.